In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the front bumper on your Dodge Ram, located right here on the front of your truck. On the upper portion of the bumper right here, there are going to be two T30 Torx bit bolts. I'm going to go ahead and loosen and remove these here. Once we remove these here, repeat for the passenger side. On the fog light, there's going to be three 10mm bolts. There's one right on the back side of this bracket right here. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove that. And then there's two right here. Let's loosen and remove those. Now, if you have factory fog lights, you just want to simply go ahead and disconnect the connector here. Once that's separated, then go ahead and remove the fog light from the vehicle. Once that's done, repeat for the passenger side. Now, there's one main fog light harness connector right on the driver's side behind the bumper here. We're going to use our pocket screwdriver, push up on this red lock tab right here. And then we're just going to go ahead and release this here. You can press down on this little tab and work that connector off. We want to separate this harness here using our trim tool. Good, pop that off. That is a reusable little lock tab there. And we just let that dangle off to the side. Now, on the inside of the frame here, there is going to be two bolts and they're plated, so they're together. On the other side of these is going to be 18mm nuts on this side of the frame over here. There's also two more on the passenger side. So there's a total of four 18mm nuts we're going to have to remove. Then we're going to take the whole bumper off with the brackets. Now, at this point here, you got to remove the nuts. We're going to leave the bolts in the plate in here that is holding the driver's side of the bumper to the frame. We're now going to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Now, what I can do safely is on one side, I can go ahead and remove the bolt and the bracket. Now that we have this side out, we only have the other side to remove before the bumper can come off. So we're going to go ahead and prepare to slide that out and pull the bumper down. Now, we have a supporting table right here, and we only have one bracket left on the back, so I have this underneath our bumper. So you remove that bracket, set that aside. Now, I just put a pry bar down behind, and we're gently going to pull it forward. Now, in our particular case, we have some aftermarket fog lights installed on this vehicle. We had to simply disconnect them and wire tie them up in the back here. We get those out of the way. Let's go ahead and wiggle the bumper forward. We have the bumper here. I'm simply going to roll cart and the bumper away. And we have our fog light wiring harness that runs along the base of the bumper. We can use a trim tool, go on the back side, and we're just going to pop these buttons out. This runs along underneath here as well. Now, on the back side here, we have a large bracket set up here. There's going to be 6 large bolts going around. Once we remove those nuts and bolts, we're going to go ahead and repeat the process for the passenger side. Now, we did spray these down with some rust penetrant. Now, on the back side, our bolt started to just spin with the nut. We're just grabbing it with a pair of pliers. This bracket has retaining lock stars on it. Let's go ahead and spin those off. Just going to use our pliers here and remove these locks here. With our brackets removed, go ahead and pull the fog light wire harness out. Now on the bottom side of your bumper, you may have a lower air dam. Ours appears to have been torn off, but if yours has that lower air dam, go ahead and remove the bolts that go through the little locking tabs here. Then you want to remove those bolts and the tabs and swap them over to the new bumper. Remove your fog light bucket. There are simple little tabs. There's 3 tabs here. You're just going to press in and out through the front. Repeat for the other side. Now in the center of the front bumper, there's going to be this black plastic insert, and across the bottom lip right here is going to be some plastic retainer buttons. We're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to go ahead and remove the center here, and then use your trim tool to pop out the base. In our case, ours is slightly damaged. We're going to go ahead and use our trim tool. Now from the back side here, we're going to use a small flat pry tool. I'm going to go right in the center here, and we're just going to push. And what we're doing is we're pushing the center of that plastic button through on the other side. And we'll go ahead and repeat this for the rest of your buttons across. And once you have those out, go ahead and finish popping those out. Set those aside. Now we can go ahead and use our trim tool, and we're going to pop out the actual base itself. Going to go ahead and pull this from the top, pull this out, and it'll pop out from the bottom. Go ahead and set that aside. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our painted upper step pad area. On the inside here, you're going to find some plastic tabs, and we're going to use our pliers. And what you simply want to do is pinch those and pull this out. We're loosening these clips. Now there's a series of these little tabs going across. Do this all the way across the bumper. I'm just going to pry this out, work your way across. We'll separate the front step pad here. Once that's off, go ahead and work the front upper painted cover off. Go ahead and set that aside. Now on the end here, you have 2 more pieces. You have the upper piece here, and then you have the side piece right here. We need to use our T30 Torx bit to go ahead and remove this screw going through the metal clip and securing this to this piece of plastic here. Once you get that upper bolt out, come on over here underneath. You're going to find a little tab here. Want to use some pliers. We're going to pinch this, and you'll be able to see it compress on itself once you pinch it with your pliers, and then pull this out. Once you get that out, we have one last bolt to work on, and that is just on the outside of this plastic bracket here. I'm going to go ahead and use our T30 Torx bit right here. Go ahead, loosen and remove this bolt. Go ahead and remove that part. We'll just have to remove this bolt, and we'll have to replace this with a sourced piece of hardware afterwards. Now the second bumper bracket here is held on with one of these bolts here. There's one on the bottom as well. This is so rusted we can't identify if it was a 8mm or a 10mm. At this point here, if you can identify what you have, simply just use a socket and remove that bolt there. We have to cut ours off and source a new piece of hardware to replace that with. We're going to use a 10mm socket, remove this bolt. We're using a pair of locking pliers here to hold the metal clip on the bottom. Go ahead and work that piece out, set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Now I'm going to start by installing our end cap here. I'm going to get this pin lined up on the hole on the top of the bumper. Push this into place and line this up. Now I want to disclose that we did have a lot of rusted hardware. We had to source some hardware to install these components. Install the bolt through the bottom. This bolt here is going to be one of the accessory bolts for the lower air dam or air valance if you have that on your vehicle. Install nut, bolt, washer, and just run that down by hand. On the top here, do the same thing. Put the bolt through, washer, put a nut on, run that down as far as you can. And let's go ahead and tighten those down. If you have a lower valance or air dam, you want to save this to tighten until you get that installed afterwards. Now installing your second piece of trim here, there is a clip here and an alignment tab here. Line these up, press that into place. I'm simply going to go ahead and use a rubber hammer here. You can use a dead blow or a rubber mallet. Tap that lock into place. Line this up. Let's go ahead and get our hardware in. Install one of our bolts to the top here. Get our washer installed. Get the nut on, and we're just going to get that caught. Try and thread that down as far as you can by hand. Good, install a bolt on the outer edge here. Going to snug these down. Grab your painted bumper cover. Line this up. I'm going to lift up our bumper. Get that pressed down into place. Make sure that our end caps pop up and over. Go ahead and take a little bumper step pad. We're going to line up our locking clips. Flip the bumper over. Let's go ahead and insert our plastic insert here. Now there's a little locking tab on the bottom, and then you have your plastic push pins that are going to run across the top. So let's go ahead and feed this in. I'm going to push this in so that those little lock tabs catch in below. Now we're going to install our retaining button right here. Once we get our retaining buttons in, I'm going to go ahead and repeat this for all of them here, and then we'll put the centers in. Go ahead and install the center buttons here. And we'll do this for the rest. Let's go ahead and install our harness. Go ahead and line up our bracket here. Now this is going to go in here, and that's going to sit in place there. Several of these bolts started. Now that you have your bolts in, we're going to go ahead and simply line up the bolts with the existing circular marks from the placement where the bolts were before. I'm going to go ahead and tighten those down. Once these are tight, we're going to repeat for the passenger side. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our upper painted pad here. Now our original hardware was in pretty rough shape, so we went ahead and sourced some new hardware. Simple nut and bolt application here. Once we get these bolts in here and snug them down, we're going to go ahead and repeat for the other side. Let's go ahead and snug these down. Now, installing your bumper brackets, you want to pay attention that these are slotted holes. So you want to go ahead and get these kind of lined up where they were before. You'll notice that there might have been marks where the bolt washers were. And what I did was I put on our brackets a little bit loose, and then you want to go ahead and kind of line them up. Now in our case here, we're able to loosen this, and I used my mallet here, give it a couple bonks on the side, lined it up. Okay, bring this back down. We also went ahead and lined this up so that the body bumper was lined up on the body and the fenders just right. So once you're lined up, you can now go ahead and secure the bolts the rest of the way. Now we went ahead and put some grease on the studs here on our brackets. Get those ready to go. Let's go ahead and line up our bumper here. All right, we're going to get this side here to line up. We'll get this bracket in. Our other side is just a little bit off, so we're going to raise that up. All right, we now have both of the brackets in place. Now that we have our brackets installed, now's the time to go ahead and line up your bumper. You want to check the clearance between the bumper and the headlamp, and you should have adjustability up and down. Now this is where an extra set of hands is going to come in. You want to go ahead and raise this up, get it to where it should be. Go ahead and install the nuts on the brackets on the back side. And you can go ahead and secure those nuts down once that bumper is lined up where it needs to be. You want to go ahead and install your fog light bezel here. There's just those 3 little tabs on the back. Simply going to line this up, push it in. You feel it lock into place. Go ahead and repeat for the other side. Now at this point here, we can go ahead and install your fog lights. I'm going to get all 3 of these bolts started by hand. Then we want to go ahead and make sure that the fog light is centered in the center of the fog light trim bezel on the front. And we can go ahead and snug this down into place. We have the bumper harness right here. Line that up. Press that together, press our red lock tab down, and there's a little button on the back that presses into the mounting hole up top. That'll secure that up and out of the way. You can plug in your fog light harness. Repeat for the passenger side. Now, if your bumper has a license plate mount on the front, you're going to have a plastic insert for each one of these holes here. You can go ahead and just pop those out of your original bumper, press them into this here, and then reinstall your front license plate.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.